Hello, my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. I hope everybody is doing awesome out there.
Yes. Oh, good. We got Knowledge 2020 in the house, which is wonderful. I can't see the names super well, but I do see Susan Donahue. That's really, really awesome. And I think I see Rick. Awesome. Wonderful. Joseph. Can you guys hear us okay? Is this sound okay? Hi, Miss Judy K. Yay.
Yay.
Rose War. Yeah. Okay. So Knowledge 2020 hears us. Wonderful.
Awesome. So good to see everybody here. And so, it's not that we fixed anything. We're just going to keep them guessing. We're going to broadcast in different ways from different places at different times. As they literally have hacked into the system multiple times, and this has been going on really since 2018. It started in 2018 as the channel was growing. The first channel was growing.
Yeah, it's just been one thing after another, but I'm glad things sound good today. And there's our wonderful Ham 37. It's great to see you. Wonderful to see you. And we have Up with Trees XD. Arizona Raven. Hello, Miss Rose War. Joseph Benson. So great to see the room is filling up.
Yeah, and again, we're just basically operating on a different system because we haven't been able to get the main system that we use, the main computer that we use to be unhacked or unhackable, because it's exactly what is the case. They just basically take over the computer and we can't really do anything about it. Because I've uninstalled and reinstalled programs multiple times. I've checked all the settings. I've, done everything you could do and put blocks on it. But, if the powers that be with billions of dollars of resources want to take over your system, they're going to take over your system.
Yeah, they're just gonna, and it's like a tag. It's a back and forth. And, but we have to do our part. Everybody has a part to play, and you got to do your part. So this is our part, trying to dodge certain technologies and things, hopefully we'll be okay.
So it's been an interesting period. I think a lot of people are going through purges, and one of the things is watch that KP index, because we watched it before. When we see the KP index get higher and we see like some CMEs start to be incoming, besides the potential to take down segments of the grid, disrupt communication, things like that, they are also going to affect us tremendously. And in some cases in very good ways, because that's when we're going to be getting massive updates, huge updates. I know personally, I feel like I'm going through a huge cycle of updates and purging right now. And I think a lot of people are probably doing the same.
Yeah, they are. A lot of people are. The information that came through on the 28th, or the cosmic wave, was more of an upgrade for everybody across the board, for us to let go of the old so that the new can come in again. It's not always super easy. Sometimes it's really difficult to sit and go within and take care of yourself, take care of your business, take care of all of these things, and going within is very difficult, and we have a lot of things piled on top of us that are full of chaos that try to keep us from doing that. So it's good to try to stay centered in that. Oh, and there's Miss Tiffany. Hi, Miss Tiffany.
So Susan says, how will we know when it's just us, the clones, and AI? It sounds like a joke, yeah, and it's true. It's pretty wild because we've been getting a lot of information that is kind of wild information, and seeing stuff come out that, things that we know are going to come. We could tell that what's going on right now with lockdown and everything, so much of it is obviously affecting the finances and changing the whole system. And we know that's part of the plan, but then there's multiple plans out there, perhaps, for in what direction to change the system. And there's definitely battles going on, but don't think of things in terms of black and white. Don't think black and white. Realize there's so many different shades of gray out there. That's one of the things we have to let sink in. It's like 50 million shades of gray going on. And so because one group is perhaps pretty damn dark with how they regard humanity as a whole and the planet and everything, doesn't mean the other group is perfectly light, but they might be better than nothing or better than the other option.
And I think, it's our job to find the most appropriate wave for us and ride that into the new way of how things are going to go. And things are going to change. They are going to be different. We're not really, I think within the next year, things are not going to be really recognizable. If any of you journal right now, I think, and just journal your way of life. Journal how your day-to-day life is. What is it like to go to the store? What is it like, to wake up in the morning? What is your 9-to-5 job? I have a feeling next year that things are just going to be completely different, and it'll be fun for that contrast.
And so I see so many people are feeling the way we're feeling too, super tired, and then all of a sudden you feel great. I've never been really a napper, and I always recognized that whenever I felt like I needed a nap, really what I needed to do was get downloads, get a message. Now it's like there's no way in the world I could sleep solid through. It's just not going to happen, so maybe the longest sleep is 4 hours. But I might need to lay down for a half hour later on. And at the same time, it's weird because, you could feel kind of crappy and run down. And then a half hour later, all of a sudden you feel like you're just brimming with energy and you feel so good. This is part of the cycle right now. Our light bodies are coming in, and some of us are at different points than others. It is part of the natural cycle of things, as well as obviously, depending on where you're at, being exposed to other energies as well. More and more people all the time are just abandoning the cities because of the toxicity and just not being able to take it, as well as also just recognizing it's safer to be out there. It's safer to be in the suburbs in most cases than to be in an urban situation. It's safer to be out there in the countryside than in the suburbs in most cases as well. It's something that is being recognized, and that's why the Great Migration is underway right now. And there's so much more going on right now, and I'm going to manifest that there's no glitches going on. No glitches are going to happen here. So, I am one that has not been into any sort of Bitcoin, any sort of blockchain. I view all those things as not really the solution. I think ultimately we need a complete new system, a complete reset, but we are going to get something different. And so it's a matter of, we recognize that the awake people, the people like us, you guys right out there that know what's going on, that the money system is how we've been controlled primarily. That's been a main source of controlling us. And so, it's been tailored so that the wealth is constantly going into the hands of the few. I saw a tweet yesterday that now the 3 top billionaires have as much resources as half the planet. 3 people, as much as half the planet. Can we say there's not something totally screwed up here? And plus the fact that the bankers can just simply add digits at will. It's all invisible. It's all invisible. It doesn't really even exist. There's nothing backing it. And so there's a lot of push to bring in something that will be a little more fair, but it's still not going to be the whole thing. In my opinion, it's not going all the way. It's maybe a baby step in some ways, while the powerful banking cabal that's been in control, they want they want to take it to that next degree of control and basically turn us all into nothing but serfs and slaves. where there are some forces out there that are trying to, they're trying to mitigate the complete collapse of society, and at the same time, they know they have only a limited amount of ability to work with things. So one of the things we have to realize is we are all behind enemy lines. This is one of the things that comes through loud and clear. We are basically living on a planet that is controlled by negative forces that don't have our best interest in mind. And a lot of people will say, well, duh. I know that. But recognize it as if we're all, 7.7 billion of us, are basically, it's like we've been paratrooped, into and jumped off way behind enemy lines right now. And so we're in a very, very tenuous situation. And it's almost like there's different forces of the Wardens. Or if you want to view it back in World War II, think of Hogan's Heroes, right? You have Colonel Klink and Sergeant Schultz. And Sergeant Schultz is like easier to manipulate, and he'll be like, oh, okay, Colonel Hogan, okay, if you guys can relate to that. There are some forces that don't want to see the total destruction of humanity, but at the same time, they're still basically working under that occupied power. So it's almost like, it's like when Colonel Hogan is acting like he's going along with everything, and he's being supportive because the Nazis are controlling everything, and he doesn't really have much of a choice because he's not in control. I mean, he could order his men around, but ultimately he's not in control. And this is kind of the situation we have here. So we can, I'm glad Mary remembers, we can also look at it like this. Okay, go back to the Sumerians. And right here we're looking at first on this tweet, the quantum financial system is now online fully and SWIFT is off. We're going to see a definite change in the weeks coming, no fear. So there are changes that are going underway, and going way back, about 3 years ago, I started to talk about what's coming and saying that what we do have is like two different factions that are vying for power here. And one of them, the MIC, which is short for what Eisenhower had talked about, and also Kennedy had talked about, the military-industrial complex. They exert power and influence through the secret space program, which now we're getting Space Force to be kind of like a visible presence that's already been there. But it's just now they're going to let us know that it's there. But they're not telling us the whole story. The fact that there's other beings that we're already working with and working under. And so they got to still do things in stages and roll it out so that the public will accept and people won't be dying of heart attacks like they did with Orson Welles' War of the Worlds.
Yeah, exactly. So it's going to be a little bit faster than, the frog and boiling water scenario, where they're just going to kind of make things change, and we're going to kind of notice that change. It won't be super uncomfortable, but it might be slightly inconvenient. I feel our main job is to find what works in this situation for us. What works for you, and ride that out of the system.
So, it's just kind of hitting me a little bit more clearly, and it's like one of those things where you perceive something and maybe you didn't take a step back a little bit further to recognize, oh, okay, so now I understand a little bit more why people think this, or a little bit more why they think that. Yes, exactly, Emmy. We make lemonade out of lemons. And by the way, lemons are alkalizing. Even though they seem so acidic, they have an alkalizing effect on your body. So they're very, very positive. So what we're going to see is going to be, one faction right now is trying to undermine the other financially. Now, ultimately, neither one of these systems is going to be perfect. One's going to be very, very horribly detrimental and will be a worsening of the situation that we have now. The other one's going to probably appease people to a point, and other people will still be nervous about it. Really what we need to do is to go back to the olden ways where there really wasn't a monetary system at all, and it was just basically contributing with what you are good at. Like Michael Tellinger's talked about Ubuntu, and as we're going to see, I'm going to share with you, it might sound like he's jumping ship. He understands the bigger picture, because Michael Tellinger is one of the guys that has talked straight out about the Anunnaki and about the ET presence here and about the gold mines in South Africa that, predate Homo sapiens sapiens, as we've talked about. And also about the banking cabal and how they have controlled everything, how the whole system is rigged. It's a huge house of cards. And so we do have these two different groups. Now we could view them in more Sumerian terms, as Enkyites and Enlilites, if you guys are, and I know you guys are familiar with that. And recognize that ultimately, were either of those two factions really, really supportive of humankind? Well, one wanted humankind totally gone, which we could equate to the banking cabal, or just having a slave force of just enough, like the Georgia Guidestones say, 500 million, that should be enough to run the planet for us until perhaps we don't need them anymore at all, period. And then you have the Enki side, which saves them and which really didn't want to get rid of them at all and was teaching them things. But was he really benevolent? Because when Anu came, there was the opportunity. Anu, right, the chief god, was given humanity the opportunity to be equals. And Enki tricked humanity into not being equals. So he still wanted us subservient to him, even though he was more benevolent towards us than Enlil.
And when you sit and recognize that there's different controllers besides the ones we see on TV, besides the ones that are on the ballots, these are more like the puppets, and the controllers are more I think you call them puppeteers. They're the ones controlling the puppets. And when you look at it through that aspect, then things start to make sense. But as they're going with just at face value, they just don't make any sense. So you have to kind of twist that perspective a little bit.
And we see this out of Crypto Audacious. The quantum financial system will become public knowledge around the 10th or the 11th of September, according to a legal document which came out from the White House. There's a lot of things that are always going on that we don't know and you don't see. And thank you, Judy K. We love you.
Thank you, Judy K.
There's a lot of things we don't see. You could find them. If you're going to go in and really look at all the different executive orders, then you'll find them. You'll find what's going on. It's kind of always there, but you really got to go digging. And good morning, Rosemary. Rosemary's done beautiful work down there. She's got herself set up nice down in Australia. So there's a lot going on with this. And what's happening is one group is trying to beat the other to the punch. And as I've been saying, going back, and don't think I didn't have doubts, as well, that, the MIC, the military industrial complex side, is in a control thing going on with the banking cabal side. Now, the military industrial complex, they're no saints, but they apparently want to utilize humanity instead of wipe out humanity. And who are they still subservient to? Well, they're still subservient to these reptilian entities when you get down to it. So, as we had shared before, when we were basically remote viewing Enki and Enlil, and they are kind of like hybrid beings, as we all are. They are kind of, well, I'll let Cindy describe it.
Well, I see them as a little reptilian, a little humanoid looking, like, and they have the sheen skin, like this,
Like a snake
like
has.
a snake, but it's more. I don't know if anyone is familiar with baby's breath color, but when they turn, you can see that shine.
Yeah. So think about the little things. How about Twilight when he's in the sun?
Oh, that's right. Yes, yes, I forgot about that. Yeah, that's very similar. Very similar.
And so when we have all these legends like the vampires, if you go back to other movies, everything's been given to us.
Yes.
That's what we're talking about here. These entities, not that they're actual vampires, but they have those tendencies that elite aristocracy feel to themselves.
Yeah, they do.
That they are way better than.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
That they view us as just totally a much, much lower level. Just like you would view a herd of sheep, unless you had an open heart, and you could actually see that each one of them was a distinct individual, even though they're all sheep and they might look the same, besides the one black one.
Yeah. So when you recognize that that's what you're dealing with, and it does help the situation.
Exactly. So that's how they're looking at us, and so ultimately, does the military-industrial complex, are they warm, fuzzy teddy bears? No. And again, it's the military, right? So it's all about conquest. It's all about fighting and blood and all that. However, their vision is more along the lines of let's let humanity know, let's give them disclosure, and let's utilize them. Let's turn them into soldiers. Let's get them to join the Space Force. They could actually help us fight out there. Now, who would we be fighting under? Well, we'd still be fighting under the reptilian supervision and the reptilian authority. But what would it do? It would allow more humans to make it longer, and perhaps to get to the point where the ascension process has time to complete for so many people, which still might take 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, it could take a while. So I think right now it's just important to get grounded and kind of get your footing in life and understand that things are going to change, and change is a constant, so even if you're in kind of a crummy situation, remember that it's not permanent, it's temporary. Things are going to get better, and just hold that mindset.
Yeah, so there are forces that really are trying to make it so that as few humans are lost in these times as possible. And then there's other forces that just want to, they don't care anything about humans, so they want to get humans culled to a very, very manageable number and leave it at that. So again, we could look at it as the Enlilites against the Enkyites. But what we've gotten is that neither of those two are in power anymore. So you have to recognize that even in these circles, these beings, things change, times change, new people come up, new people take leadership and take control. So, we tend to view things, because we've been given these prophecies, as if they're set completely in stone, but they're not really set completely in stone. There's things that have been planned, but like when we look at Casey's prophecies of the earth changes, he had so many penned for like 1970s, 1980s, even in the 60s, major events going on, and they're only starting to happen now. And we don't even know, how intense it will be as well. So we do have free will, because really these beings that have given us these limited mindsets, well, it's them. And it's the reptilians. It's these Anunnaki. And again, there are many that were Anunnaki, many different types of beings that came from the heavens and have been here on the planet. And of course, many of them are multi-dimensional beings, able to manipulate things that would make them appear godlike again, but they're not. They are as finite a being as we are in one sense, but in another sense, we're all infinite beings too. So there's your conundrums, and there's a lot of them.
Oh my gosh, there is, so I guess never really getting stuck on one point of view, or reading something and saying, oh, this is how everything is. That would I don't think that's the best way to go about things. I think going about things, when you read something new and you find out something new, keep your mind open, because things do change, even in all of these ancient writings. Like it says, they're ancient. Things have changed since then.
So when we look at the Sumerian kings list, and again, our entire tradition really comes out of this. It's coming from the Sumerian system, through the Abrahamic tradition, and through these, as we were talking about yesterday, these beings that came down from the heavens. So after kingship descended from heaven, and again, kingship descended from heaven. Now, not heaven as in necessarily the astral realm, although these beings operate in the astral realm too. Coming down from the sky, the heavens, the stars, the other planets out there. Kingship was in Eredug, and in Eredug, Alulim became king, and he ruled for 28,800 years. And, some have tried to argue that these are different years, they changed their measurement of time, but it's not really the case. When you look at it, it's very, very consistent. And so we see that, longevity, yeah, that's a long reign, 28,000 years. That's a huge reign. Again, look back, now that the humans have eaten of the knowledge of the tree of good and evil, we can't let them eat from the tree of life. So what is that tree of life? Is it recognizing how to manipulate the life force, how to basically absorb prana, chi, ki, vril, from the air itself, and basically how to heal ourselves just through intention, as well as using other substances, like somebody was talking about gold there. Rizar, gold is more related to consciousness, I believe.
Well, I do feel there's some pretty strong preservatives in there, because if you look at a ship, and if a ship sinks like hundreds and hundreds of years ago, the things that seem to be held together the best are the things that are made of gold.
And as Rose was talking about remote viewing and all, it's getting easier and easier. We were having a conversation with, I forget who now.
My friend.
Oh, okay, one of Cindy's friends. And we were talking about the remote viewing and just the fact that, can you imagine that if everybody had that type of ability, if we could all just look at somebody and see the changes in the color of their aura as they're talking to us and recognize, ooh, they're starting to lie. Mm-hmm. All the illusion's gone, guys. All the illusion's gone. This is what's coming. They're not going to be able to pull the wool over our eyes anymore. And they can't pull the wool over many of our eyes already because we're recognizing it. We could see when something's just a little bit off. Okay, he might have good intentions, but he's lying to me. Why? What's he hiding? Thank you, Wayne. Thank you for your support.
Thank you, Wayne. Yeah, I mean, that's going to be, I think, difficult as people get more and more sensitive, because you're going to be able to pick up on the deceit. You're going to be able to pick up on the lie. And even though someone might come forth and look like they have good intentions, you're going to know. You're just going to know that, no, they're lying. It's bad intentions. And I think really it's important moving forward that we recognize that, follow our instincts, understand this is a separation of the energies, and follow your heart, because your heart bypasses your logical thinking. And I kind of feel that a lot of our logical thinking has been given to us by the higher ups. They have told us how to think. So I've had to bypass that and just go with my heart.
And so, Cindy was getting information about who is in charge now. And what we got now is that, again, I'll let her talk, but it's not Enki and Enlil. We got to think past those guys. That's ancient history. So other people are in charge now when we're talking about these particular beings.
Yeah, and in charge is also like kind of a perception too. But I was looking through the king's list, and it's the Ajiji. I kind of get a vibration, and I match that vibration up with what I'm feeling and how I'm feeling. But they're coming a long ways. They're doing well. They're doing very well. And who's to say we might not be right behind them, because they created us too.
So when you say they're doing well for themselves, would you say?
They're doing extremely well for themselves, and to the point where they could almost like want to take over everything. And even though the people are in charge, that's just so convoluted. You can't say, oh, this person's in charge, that person's in charge. But I do believe that beings can rise up and take more control of themselves and their friends and stuff like that.
So again, we got to stop thinking in black and white, because it's not really black and white. Do you know any one person that doesn't have an ounce of, bad in them at any particular time, that does not lose some sort of control of themselves and experience what we would term negative emotions? Everybody is a mix. And it's the same thing with these beings. As you get up higher towards source, there's more and more dedication. When we talk about the angelic realm and the Devic realm, there the level of benevolence towards all life is very, very high. But with these beings that are just, they're a little bit higher than us, yes, in some ways, but in some ways not. And Cindy was getting that too when we were talking about it spiritually. Like if we're talking about this particular branch of Anunnaki, like the Enlilites, the Enkyites and stuff, at some levels, we actually have a higher level of potential.
Yeah, we do, because we have the spark of source within us. I mean, I know everything and everybody has a spark of source, but with the vibrations that I have coming through, we have more of an ability to tap into more of that source. It feels like it goes on like a percentage of how much source can you tap into. We have a heck of a lot.
Yeah, so I mean, when you see a lot of these legends of certain beings becoming jealous of humans and the creation of human, again, everything is distorted, but there's some truth in there because of the potential that lies within us. And, again, it's on the genes in some ways. As another thing Cindy was getting is that these beings, they don't get born like we do. They kind of create a vessel. And they tailor make a vessel with certain DNA attributes. And this is also why Earth is a living library. This is a living library. This is where they deposit a lot of knowledge in the form of DNA. There's all sorts of beings here. And don't think because, take it for instance, a lion. Because a lion is out there and just killing other things and feasting off of it, that's necessarily lower vibe. And there are beings out there, for instance, that are kind of humanoid lions.
Yeah, there are. Like, you could imagine anything that you could imagine or make up, they have them. There's just so much out there that we're not told about.
There is, and so when we see all the animals, for instance, they have tremendous emotions. We were talking about goats because there's a little dream here. Cindy's got a dream. She wants a goat and a pony so bad. And I really would love to make that happen for her at some point in time because she's had that before. She grew up on a farm. And she was saying how the goats, they're just like dogs. Now, here in the West, we would never dream of cooking a dog. They do things like that in certain countries. But for us, it'd be, my God, are you kidding? How the heck could you do that? They're so loving. They're our best friends.
It feels like a form of cannibalism, really.
Yes, but that's where we're all going to head to. And many of us, not to get off topic, but are finding that we just can't eat flesh anymore. It just can't do it because we'll have nightmares or we'll feel toxic. Or it makes us depressed. It's all part of the change as we go up in vibration. And then, of course, you have the reptilian beings, which may be of higher, technological knowledge and also understand how to manipulate reality better than we do in many ways. And they're still very, very much carnivores, very, very much aggressive. And so even though they're at a higher level in some ways, they're not necessarily higher in other ways.
Right, exactly. And There's a lot to take into consideration, a lot to weigh, and a lot of this information that we do get is convoluted. And I do feel that channeled information is good information because we are tapping in on a stream of information that comes through our bodies, and then we're able to translate that. So I think it's more important to almost look at the ancient texts like the ancient texts. Times are changing.
They're changing rapidly, and our heads are going to be spinning with the technology that we're going to be seeing. I don't know if did you guys see the report that an airplane was, I believe, landing, and they saw a guy in a jetpack flying at 3,000 feet next to him. There's going to be so much technology coming out, it's going to leave our heads spinning over the next several years. If somehow we can put enough pressure out there to force the governments to stop this crazy plan for WW3, that we could buy ourselves more time, because what we're getting is that the biggest danger to humanity right now is humanity and these forces controlling humanity, and not necessarily the earth changes, even though they're bad enough. The earth changes with the big ones, like when we're talking eventually the flash and the pole shift. That's still a ways off. But at the same time, the trajectory that the banking cabal has us on, their plans are that by the time we get to that point, there's going to be there'll be such a limited population left compared to what's here right now. So most people in their plans are going to be facing their exit from this world, not through the earth changes necessarily, but through global conflict, civil war, disease, etc., etc. The big earth changes are going to be farther down the line, although there will be big things. That doesn't mean Cascadia can happen tomorrow or San Andreas. I still kind of feel like those two things could happen very soon, and we're watching unusual swarms as well, and I'll get into that later if we have a little bit of time, or I'll do a earth change update a little bit later in the day. But there is unusual swarm activity. But the thing that is really the most concerning thing right now is breaking free from the chains, and we have to do that by asserting our will. We see a strategic vision for America's quantum networks. You're going to see so many advances, even with all the chaos going on right now. And it's not really advances that are happening now as we speak. They're just going to be trickled out right now. They're already in progress. They've been underway for a long time. So this is from whitehouse.gov. And I'll have all this info for you guys. Now this is the QFS movie. And so we see the Trump administration is committed to the quantum financial system and to unleashing its incredible potential for U.S. economic growth, technological advancement, and national security, to coordinate a national research effort encompassing federal agencies, the academic community, and the industry leaders already underway. The White House National Quantum Coordination Office has released a strategic vision for America's quantum financial system, and that's from February of 2012. So this is just basically a series of slides talking about what's going on right now, because this is going on, and most people don't even really recognize it's going on. There are changes underway. Where's all the coins? And a lot of places are now they're not even taking cash. It's a good excuse to not take cash because of what's out there right now. So it's the perfect opportunity to implement an absolute new system, which was part of the big plan by the banking cabal. And then you have the MIC trying to do this and trying to institute this instead. Because, as I said, what they want to do is utilize humanity as a resource. Instead of just getting rid of humanity. We're back in the same thing again in so many ways. We're back at that event, the flood event. This is Noah's flood all over again with two different factions that have different views.
Yeah, they are. And Reserve says, I don't like the sound of that. I know. And I think, though, if we are careful, and if we take a look at this closely, that we can actually use this new way to get out of the system in each our own individual way, and then eventually as a collective. And then that's just the feeling. Now, I don't know how, but I do feel it. I feel that happening.
Yeah, there is a change underway. So this is going to be a system it's going to be, and I'm no expert on Bitcoin and all this stuff. I'm not. And so many of like our friends, radiant creators like Craig and Aaron, we love them. They're family members. They're beautiful people. And Craig is huge into Bitcoin. So, radiant creators, if you guys are interested, check them out. I did an interview with him a while ago, and we still keep in touch because we're friends. But he's huge into this, and so he believes that this is the future, totally, and a lot of people do. Now, I view a system in which we're just basically contributing as we can with our strengths and living more in harmony with the world. And I don't view the future as being chips for all and things like that, and all that type of levels of control. I see a system where we're back in harmony with nature. What I view that we had more in the Lemurian age, not the Atlantean age, but the Lemurian age, where I view it as we were more 5D beings then, and we have come down in density as we left that age. And there's different ages. We're very familiar with the Kali Yuga, but there's also the Satya Yuga, as well as others. We're heading back into an age where we're going to be in harmony again. Although, as much as we would want it to be instantaneous, like, wouldn't it be great if we could go to sleep tonight and tomorrow we're in a golden age and all the tension's gone? Everybody just wakes up and realizes, wow, that was stupid. Why did we let ourselves get controlled that way? And then, the dark ones say, okay, well, we're leaving the planet. We're heading out to wherever. We're going back to Aldebaran or something, It's not going to be that way, unfortunately. So we're going to have to sometimes make the better choice between two options that are less than ideal. And at the same time, planning our own escape, as Cindy's saying. So what we need to be doing is working together as much as possible to be completely out of the system, and recognize that any system that comes in is still a system, which means it's a means of control.
Mm-hmm. And at the same time, though, this is where the tricky part comes in. I do feel like this new system that's coming in, I feel that can be used as a very, very important stepping stone. That's just my thoughts. And like I said, I don't know how. It's just a really strong gut that's telling me you can use it. You might not like it, but you can use it to get out.
So according to this, it says the quantum financial system provides pristine, clean integrity in the movement of funds from central banking sources to destination accounts. The QFS will cover a new global network for the transfer of assets-backed funds and can replace the U.S. centrally controlled SWIFT system. A key benefit of QFS is to protect all parties from corruption, usury, and manipulation within the banking system, and ensure banks are monitored and protected with regard to the agreed-upon contract of the transfer fund process. And it gets into a lot more. Let's see here. And it's incorporating AI in big time too. So you're going to see a big incorporation of AI, which again, for many of us, it's like a big, well, let's not go down that route. I don't want to be assimilated into the Borg. And you see smartphones and everything. And yesterday, was it yesterday or the day before? As I'm turning my phone off now. It was bizarre because we're having a discussion. All of a sudden, a text comes through in regards to that discussion from an unknown source. And it just showed us that we are being listened to. And we know we're being listened to. We know we're being monitored. But they really are listening through our devices. And, they just let us know that they were. So all this is still a means to even more control. However, just as I've shared with you guys before, when the election was happening back in December 2015, I was getting a horrible feeling of dread, as if something extremely bad was about to happen. And I do and did feel that if Hillary was elected, I think that our population would already be radically reduced. And at the same time, I didn't have love for Trump either. I felt very apprehensive about him. The impressions I was getting from him was that we're going to end up seeing a strong military presence. We're basically going to be heading into a military rule situation if he comes in. But at the same time, the opposite side of the coin, if those are your only two choices, with Hillary, I felt like we would have almost like a nuclear Armageddon. It would be a culling right away. So if those are your only two choices, then buy me 4 more years. So at least we have some time to work with in order to get our escape plan in and get prepared. Yet, this is always what we are given is two choices between two options that are very less than ideal. And I know there's a lot of people that think that, Trump is pure good, even though, the signs are all around. It's just, we've been so divided on purpose. And, at the same, that's the bigger control at the very top end, is knowing that all the things that are going on is still creating chaos, still feeding certain entities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, one of the most important things we need to keep in mind is our energy, and where our energy goes. It can go to feeding them and making them stronger. So it's really important in these times to stay centered, find out what makes you happy, and do that, and not, go out and find just enough information so that you're okay, that you're safe. Use that information to climb up out of this pit. Use it as a stepping stone, but don't dwell on it. Don't make up these timelines that things are just going to be horrible. Don't do that. Use information as it comes.
So if we read in more, QFS is completely independent from the existing centralized system. It's still going to be a system. It's still going to be kind of centralized. But what it is pulling, it's the MIC pulling away from the banking cabal, and makes all other transfer systems obsolete due to its advanced capabilities. QFS is not cryptocurrency. It's an asset-backed digital currency. QFS reigns supreme in the photonic technology at 3.5 trillion frames per second. It replaces obsolete IP dynamic routing with true physical GPS authentication between sender and receiver routing, while upholding 100% financial security and transparency. And again, I'm not backing this. I'm just reading this to you guys because there are those that believe this is, this is it. This is Nasara Gesara. Oh, I owe $50,000 in school loans. They're going to be forgiven. Yay. Or I owe this, I owe that. It's all going to get wiped clean, and we're all going to get a brand new start. And that's really looking at things with rosy glasses. That's just being kind of hopeful. When do the powers that be ever give us anything for free, really for free?
No, that never happens. And if you think it's happening, then, just take another look. That saying goes, the best things in life are free. Maybe if you grow your vegetables and you pick your fruit and you eat it, those things are good. But when it comes from a banking cabal, nothing is free.
So what's going on in so many ways is eliminating the middlemen of human society, and it's going to be the direct control of the higher powers that be, the real powers that be behind that. So when we see protocols will be instituted with QFS so that artificial intelligence is going to control the transfers and independently be allowed to control the global financial network unless the highest level of approval is given. Artificial intelligence, AI program will handle the instant settlements in real time without delays. The AI assigns a digital number to every fiat dollar and euro yen in every bank account all over the world. Digital numbers are monitored in real time. The physical GPS location between the sender and receiver will be set up to provide unbreakable security, so they're going to know where you are every moment of every day, as we already know. When it was ledgered with regard to who sent it and what account received it. And so it gets into sovereign currency of the U.S. is USN. And this is Switch Las Vegas, QFS headquarters. Interesting that they put it in Vegas. And so what they're going to actually do, they're talking about digital currency, conversion in the future from a fiat cryptocurrency into a gold-backed base. And you see these coins right here. The coins themselves and the virtual coins will have barcodes and GPS tracking devices. That's still Big Brother. I mean, how is this, this is...
gold back? I don't understand. How could it possibly be gold back? I don't understand this. It's not.
Well, they're just saying that it's there, and so, and then we've heard things about, different places. Well, there's no gold there. There's supposed to be so much gold there. But either way, any way you look at this, it's going to be barcoded and it's going to have chips in it. So you want your money on you. You want you to leave your money at home. Whatever it is, this is not heading towards freedom. And then there's going to be a ton of people that are so on board with this. This is what we had said before. They understand the level of awakeness in people, and so they're going to trap a certain amount of people with one thing. We talked about the whole Q thing, that's catching people. And a lot of the Q people will be right behind this as well, even though these things are going to be barcoded and chipped. And then, I guess it's better than having a chip put directly in you, right? But still, this is not freedom, not at all. We have to recognize it for what it is. Is it better than the alternative? Well, we don't know the exact alternative yet, but I'm sure that's not pleasant either.
Right. So I think coming up with what works for you and moving into a plan is, that's where our focus should be set, that doing the inner work, figuring out, how are you going to be self-sustaining, get everything ready for you. We do have a friend that she's been working on getting herself ready, and she's doing really, really well, and we're very proud of her, given her circumstances. So that's something that everybody's should look at.
So, again, it's another catch, the way I view it. Is this what we really, really want? Well, we're still going to be tracked, to the highest degree possible. We're still going to not have any individual freedoms. We have to recognize it for what it is. Now, of course, perhaps the banking cabal has something even far worse in mind, which is probably more than likely, as we see more and more being exposed. But we have to just recognize it. So, one of the first things to recognize is that, it's not just humans that are controlling the planet. And, there's a lot of people of a fundamentalist persuasion that, again, they can't see anything but just angels and demons, yet they don't even know the definition of the words. It's just because they've been taught something and they just blindly believe it. They don't look deeper. As we've said, don't trust anything. Do your research, think for yourself, come up to your own conclusions. And it's the same thing with this. Look deeper. Don't just take what we're saying. Go do the research. Look up the links and go much farther than that.
Yeah, and don't wait for other people to figure it out for you. And they say, okay, here, follow me, because that's how we all get in this situation to begin with. It's like, okay, we'll just follow that person. They have an answer. No, it's really important that we each sit down and do our own individual work.
Exactly. Because again, we're all individuated, like sparks, flames off of source's fire. And so we're all co-creators also. with Source. And, again, I think because the word God has been so misused, because originally, if you go back and you look at Genesis, it's in the plural, the gods, and, they're not Source. Although we've been tricked into thinking that they are something other than they are. Sure, technologically advanced. Sure, understanding how the world works. And when we say it's spiritual warfare, well, what does that really mean? Again, angel means messenger. And, demon comes from daemon, which originally meant like a nature spirit.
Yeah.
And there is the Davic realm to which these nature spirits, basically take care of, all the way from small little elemental beings that nurture plants, all the way up to the devas that guide humanity in so many ways that we've been cut off from. So there are all these different beings, and then every planet and every star that you see is an entity as well, with its own consciousness and personality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and self-realization and self-discovery. This is what we came here to do. So, everybody needs to do their own homework, figure out their own thing, and move forward on it. And just be careful not to follow other people, because maybe they're doing something that works for them because, they went out and researched some stuff, and we need to do that too.
So this is actually, it's under process right now. This is going on right now. So it's like trying to beat one group, trying to beat the other group to the punch. And when you look at, like, say, President Trump, and you see the infighting between the different political groups, there's real infighting. Most definitely. There's infighting. These groups don't like each other. Hillary and Bill were doing a little live, and it's on Twitter, and they're really, really obviously trashing, because they're under control of the banking cabal, and Trump is under the control of the MIC, and so they are really at odds with each other. And when we look at the entities that are out there that are involved in our world, the reality is there's more than just the Anunnaki that we speak of. There's more than just this faction of Enlilites and Enkyites. And I just say those two because those were the big names, the two different groups that go down. But there's many more than that. And then there's more than just the Pleiadians and the Arcturians and the Andromedans. There's so many entities, and we've had some encounters with entities that I don't even know how to describe them, and who knows where they come from. There are so many factions that are just here right now. It's just like what we have in the world. I mean, there are some factions that are, say, if we want to divide the world currently into the China-Russia bloc, right, and the U.S.-NATO bloc, well, then there's a lot of entities out there that are just pirates, thieves, uninvolved totally, but looking opportunistically to take advantage of a situation when you have these two big powers in conflict. And there's scavengers. There's all sorts of beings out there. And then there's really benevolent beings too. And not just on 3D, but in other densities as well. There's so many different beings involved in what's going on here. It would blow our minds. And if we could see them, which, we've been getting glimpses as my pineal has gone kind of crazy lately. I've been getting glimpses of very, very unusual beings from time to time in meditation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's definitely more than we can really comprehend. And if you're really open and you allow that information to come in, it can cause a pretty good case of sensory overload pretty fast. And not everybody really has a filter. Some people are set up without a filter, so the information goes through them whether they want it to or not. But that's where meditation and the mantras can help. But, I've been doing it now for a couple of years, so it does take some time. It's just something that you might want to get started on, because I feel we're all getting more and more sensitive, and it's going to help a lot of people.
So there is the cross-border interbank payment system, the CIPS. So it's going to look like Bitcoin, but it's going to be secured by real assets and be replaced, and it will replace all current currencies worldwide. Transactions will run on QFS VPN and can be used for the purchase of all goods and services, utilizing the resources of the CIPS. 100 billion coins will be minted in gold, and 100 billion coins will be minted in silver. Once minted, there will never be more or fewer coins in existence. Each coin will have a virtual counterpart. The QFS AI will keep track of all fluctuation and will manage all bounding conditions, as well as keeping track of all locations. So every coin will always be, it'll be known who has it and where it is. It's, again, this is a big system.
Yeah, it gets pretty convoluted. It gets really, really complicated, and sometimes what we have to do to make it to the next level is kind of work with things as best we can.
And so this is already kind of in play as well. It's really in play, and it's pretty wild. There's one I didn't put out here yet, but I'll get it to you guys. That's actually showing that they're already going after certain entities. Now, this is Michael Tellinger, who, again, for the most part, I really like him. But I feel like, I feel like sometimes we're so desperate for something positive that you'll grasp at anything. And again, if it's a choice between, and you have no other choice between two alternatives that are less than ideal, of course you'll take the one that's going to be slightly more benevolent than the other one. And so this is a video where he's talking about President Trump and the Fed, True Origins of Money, A World Free from Financial Slavery by Michael Tellinger. So I'll give you guys the link to that too. Interesting talk. I do feel that there's people that, a lot of us, we all want a glimmer of hope when we see all the horrible things that are going on and all the division. It would be wonderful if we could all start to get behind something, but it's got to be the right thing for humanity and not another compromise that's just going to lead to more slavery.
Yeah, so those are things to watch out for. But again, each individual person needs to do their own individual research. And I really do like Michael Tellinger. He probably does explain it really well. And I want to have hope too, but I think this is something we should look at and just be mindful that it's still another big action plan to keep us under control. But if you walk into that knowing that, then your chances of walking out with freedom are much higher.
Yeah, so, it's interesting because I'll put the link to this. There's a notice of deficit due to bracket readjustment that's come out. And it does talk about this now. So it's already being done. It's already starting to be implemented. And so what it'll be is a conversion of what you have in your assets. And, don't necessarily think all your liabilities are going to be forgiven. And then you'll be basically given a certain amount of credit, quote unquote, or a certain amount of financial capita there, for what you have in assets. So of course, when we see like Bezos and, Bezos, for instance, this whole lockdown situation has made Amazon even more wealthy. And that's what we've seen. Microsoft has gotten so much more wealthy as well. Is that a coincidence that these top financial powerhouses are still consolidating wealth? And then we're going to switch over to a new system, and if it's never going to get any other money printed, then forever that perhaps is going to be in certain people's hands.
Yeah, there's just so much going on right now. It's really hard to break it down and explain it and, give people advice on what to do. And, but I do think this is important that people take a look at it and try to understand.
So I just wanted to bring this to your awareness. We'll try to do a Earth Changes update a little bit later in the day. And I want to thank everybody for your support on Patreon and Ko-Fi, with the first channel being demonetized all year and the restrictions that they impose on getting these types of videos out with this information. We couldn't do it without that support, and we really, truly appreciate it. Recognize what's going on, guys. There's a lot going on, and ultimately, though, when the flash comes, when that energy wave comes, it's all gone. This whole system, no matter what they're trying to do over here, it's going to be toast, because it'll wipe out everything, and we will be changed. So the key is working on your light body, working on your spiritual side, getting your vibrations high, purging yourself of all negative energies. Do not get pulled into all the horrible drama we see going on in these different locations like Portland, Seattle, everywhere, really. There's so much conflict going on, just trying to pull us into taking a side so that we pull each other down. So we have to get out of the system. Out of the system is awesome. And Jebel TV says, no echo. That's because we switched we switched the way we're doing things using a different instrument. We're going to keep rotating through because they've hacked into my main computer multiple times. So, thankfully we have other resources, and we'll just keep jumping about as much as we can. So we love you guys. As always, God bless and namaste.
Namaste.